ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today we're talking about Doctor Who.
Doctor Goo. Hello.
Doctor Come. That's
Lord.
Docum Who. Come Doctor.
Did these
Isn't that
cum
great?
jokes
What an
start?
episode.
I feel like I've only started to see these jokes this year. Has this always been a thing? I don't know.
Yeah, like 3 months ago, I think, is where it all started, and you know, it was all downhill there, I think.
Yeah, see, I mean, obviously there was always the joke about it, I guess, but it really started to, like, you know, snowball in the last couple
Really
of months.
popped off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was...
been a bit crazy.
I can't tell you how interested I was to rewatch this two-parter, because I remember thinking this was an all-time low for Doctor Who when I first watched it, and I was like so interested to rewatch it this time as an adult, and you know, having watched all of Matt's series and come into season 6 with a different angle, because I always didn't like it as a kid. It was always my least favourite. So yeah, it was definitely interesting to come into this two-parter. To come into it, and there you go, another joke.
To come into it, God, that's going to happen a lot. This not coming, but the word "coming" is going to be emphasised quite a lot.
I know, Aiden.
My favourite thing is someone, I think, Twitter handle is the Cosmic Cast, I want to say. Oh, what is her name? She's very popular over on Twitter. Anyway, she's really funny, and one of the best things I saw, I don't know if she made it or if she retweeted it, but someone had made, you know how in like when classic Doctor Who were getting like the old school box sets, like you remember you bought me that one that was the beginning, and that was the first 3 stories of Hartle.
Yes.
Remember how they used to do that style? Someone made one of those, and because those ones are weird because they're always, well, a lot of the time were quite obscure things, and they didn't always quite make sense. Like one time I think they did one called Canine Tales.
Yeah, the Canine.
It was just 2 random stories that had Canine in them, but like Canine wasn't about Canine or anything. He was just like a small part of those stories. Like they were a bit silly for that kind of thing. And yeah, someone made a cover called the Cum Trilogy matching that. So that was a lot of fun.
Happy days. We love the Cum Trilogy.
Happy days. We do.
I do want to say quickly before we jump into it, because obviously it's a 2-parter, which always takes longer. And I am going to need your help today, Aiden, because fuck, I'm tired of shit today. And I watched these episodes like a week and a half ago, and I really didn't like them. Yep. And it's always hard to recap a 2-parter, let alone one that I didn't like, especially part 2. I was definitely like zoning out, so I'll try my best. But before we get into that,
interesting.
Is it this week we got Comic-Con with the Doctor Who panel?
No, I think that's not till, I think it's the end of July.
Oh, okay. There you go. That's me doing my research. All right, surely a trailer, first of all. And then they also keep hyping up this guest.
A quick round of news, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Only news is that there is this Comic-Con thing happening end of July.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, so yeah, we got Jodie Mandip, John Bishop, Chris Chibnall, I think, are all going to be there. Plus a special guest. Do you have any bets on who this special guest is going to be?
Not really. I mean, I saw a few people. Some people were like, "Oh, it'll be Jack," and I'm like, "Nah, not after all that shit that's come out. There's no way it'll be him."
No way. Like, even if he is in the season, there's no way that they would
absolutely
do this
not.
for it. Like, I think it'll be more subtle if he is still in the season.
I feel like with people who say that on like Twitter and like Facebook and stuff, they just don't understand how like productions work, and they don't understand producers who's literally, it's their job to try and shape how the public think about something. Like, I don't know. Fair enough. I mean, I never used to think about it back in the day, but you know, still, I don't know who it could be.
For me, I think the 2 obvious ones, and I'd be happy with either of these 2. Would be Sasha and Joe. I think it's inevitable that Sasha will come back at some point.
It's so obvious, though.
Joe's the one that I think will be not necessarily a surprise, but more of a relief, because the way the series ended, it's like they could not bring her back, but I also feel like there is so much more to explore with that storyline that they really should bring her back, and she's such a great actress. The other thing I've seen online is that apparently there is a guest actor who I don't know, but apparently they're a pretty famous actor in the UK that's been spotted filming but has not actually been announced.
Okay.
And if you remember with Series 12, they made a pretty big deal out of Stephen Fry and Lenny Henry.
Yeah.
So it could just be them announcing that guest actor, which I think will be a bit anticlimactic.
Very special guest.
but-
Someone you saw last season who you probably already knew was going to be in it. I hate this very special
also-
guest. It's like, we're already going to watch. Just fucking tell us who it is. That way I can get more hype for it.
There's also like, I know I put a tweet up the other day saying that, imagine if Jodie announces that it's her last season and then
Interesting.
they introduce the new Doctor as the special guest. That'll be interesting, but
Wow.
I feel like too soon. I feel like having a regen announcement and a new Doctor back-to-back thing, they usually like months apart, those announcements. And also the fact that I really do think that whenever Jodie goes, whether it's soon or in 2 seasons time or whatever, I do think it is going to be a secret regen.
Yeah, surely. I think that'd be really
so
smart.
Chibnall.
I don't know, because like, it's so hard to tell these days with TV shows and stuff. Like, like back when they said like the reveal from like Fugitive's going to be huge, I was always just like, surely not, and it was massive. And now I feel like this thing's going to be like, everyone's going to be hyping it up to be something it's not. But maybe I'm going to be wrong. I don't know. I mean, I hope what you said then. Like, I hope, if they do mention the regeneration, that's going to be our last season. I think that'd be a good time to do it. But again, I'm like you. I hope they don't. I hope they do a secret one. There's got to be a trailer. Like, come on.
There will be. I think it's about. I think it was about that time for Series 11, which aired at about the same time.
That's about right. Yeah.
As this season is going to. I think. Yeah, they had a trailer come at that time at Comic-Con. Was it? Maybe not. I don't know. But it was around that time. Also, what's cool is we've not had a proper all the cast at Comic-Con promoting a season since season 11.
That's right.
Because season 12 was like oddly timed for the whole Comic-Con round table thing, and so all they did when Comic-Con came around was look back on season 12, which obviously isn't that, it's an interesting season, but it's not as interesting to look back on a season as to it is to look forward to future seasons,
Was that when they released those 2 pictures from Revolution?
Yeah.
And everyone was just like, are you serious? That's it? Like, a special look.
Everyone expected a Revolution of the Daleks trailer, and they released the 2. Well, one of them was interesting, but one of them was the most boring picture ever. It was so funny.
I remember everyone was like, a trailer, or like, I don't even think they even announced Jack was in it. I don't think. Oh, did they? Did they announce he was back?
No, I don't think they did. No, I think that was only a few weeks before.
They didn't even.
And
give
they
us
did that
anything.
teaser, and it was just like, remember they hyped up a teaser, and then all the teaser was one shot of Jack saying, "Oh, I missed that sound." Poor body, Crispy Pro had stayed up all night to make a reaction video to it, and that's all he got. That was funny.
This is what I mean. This is what I mean by them being like a very special guest. Like, come on, like, don't fucking tug our balls like last year. Like, this is what I mean with like the BBC and their marketing for Doctor Who. It's like, it's so on and off. Like, you don't know if they're telling the truth or not. But I'm excited.
Yeah.
A new season, a new trailer coming up soon. Let's get it. Let's get it on. Today, I'm excited.
Let's get the dogs. Yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be exciting. And I think I had one other thought for the special guest thing. Oh yeah, that the other option is maybe they do bring someone back from the show that we haven't seen in a while, like River or something.
Craig Owens. I saw that theory on Twitter, which is ridiculous, by the way. Are you serious?
So a lot of people have been throwing the whole Donna Noble thing out there, because remember back when they were filming Liverpool, Catherine Tate was filming a show in Liverpool, and people were like, it must be Doctor Who.
Literally.
Whoa.
You know how big Liverpool is, for fuck's sake? Like, it's
dumb.
I think I know who it is, actually.
It's bloody dumb.
I reckon the special guest is going to be Macklemore, and he's going to sing Glorious, and they're going to put it back in the trailer for the season 13 trailer. Remember when they did that Glorious one? And it got
I didn't mind that. I was revisiting
heaps of dislikes.
Like a month ago. I revisited the Series 11 trailer, and I just felt weirdly nostalgic for the hype of that season.
Yeah.
And it has really aged better with me with time that season. Like, it's still not one of my favorites or anything like that. But it's not one. It's probably still maybe at the bottom for me. But it's not one now where I'm like, ooh, it's at the bottom. It's now where it's just like, okay, it's probably my least favorite of the 12 seasons, but it's not like miles below and hidden in the earth like I originally probably would have put it.
Yeah, like I said, I think, well, touch wood, that next Doctor's season will be, next Doctor's run will be a lot more, a lot better. And I think, like I said to you a couple of episodes ago, I think if like the next era of a Doctor is really good, I can look back on this era and be like, okay, I didn't love it, but I can enjoy it for what it is, and I'll probably see the better side out of it if I start to love the show a bit more. But this all comes from a place with the show because I love it. Like, I want it to be the best. I don't go into every episode praying that it's like gonna do something and slip up so I can go on Twitter and tweet about how shit it is, like some people do. But I just want it to be good. I just want it to be good. So I think I can.
Yeah.
In maybe a year or two, or maybe a little longer, I can look back on that season and a bit like I look back on season 6 and be like, okay, it wasn't all doom and gloom. Like it was better than when I thought about it. Now I thought about it a bit. Yeah. It's probably better. Like who knows? Who knows? I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows? 50% podcast.
Who knows? Shall we get into the review?
Yeah, go on then.
So if you couldn't tell, considering we've, I think, only referred to it in the show as the Cum two-parter, we are talking about the Rebel Flesh and the Almost People, which is also known as the Cum two-parter, or the first 2 episodes of the Cum trilogy, if you include A Good Man Goes to War in this. So we'll do the synopsis of the first episode here.
Let's go.
The Rebel Flesh is the 5th episode of the 6th series of the British science fiction television series Doctor Who, which was first broadcast on the 21st of May 2011 on BBC One. And the following episode was broadcast on the 28th of May 2011. In the episode, the TARDIS is hit by a solar storm, sending the Doctor, Matt Smith, and his companions, Amy Pond, Karen Gillan, and Rory Williams Alpha Double, to a monastery on an island on Earth in the 22nd century, which has been converted into a factory to pump acid off the island. To prevent death from the acid, the workers have utilized a programmable matter called the Flesh, which creates a doppelganger called Ganger, controlled by the worker. As the solar storm hits, the gangers become independent, and the Doctor, Amy, and Rory must work to prevent the 2 groups from breaking into a war.
Bruh.
Woo! That just sounds a whole lot of cum, doesn't it?
Oh,
a whole lot of cum. Very cummy.
It's also written by the bloke who writes Fear Her. It's from season 2.
Fear Her, you said,
a fan favourite.
Yeah, so that would be Matthew Graham is the writer. He's written 12 episodes of EastEnders. He has written quite a few things.
Quite a lot of Life on Mars, actually.
A lot of things here and there. But yeah, Doctor Who, Fear Her. Yeah, 16 episodes of Life on Mars. Gee whiz.
Yeah.
That's a decent amount, isn't it? You'd be happy with that outcome.
That's...
he also wrote 24 episodes of Ashes to Ashes.
Yeah, that's the sequel. There is only... there is only 16 episodes of Life on Mars, so there you go. I think he must co-write, because I know Chibnall writes 2 episodes of Life on Mars, and his one in season 1 is fucking great. I swear, he's really good at writing crime dramas, but that's why I was. I know, and
I think that's part of what he does with Who, and it's just not quite selling the best at the moment. I don't know.
Yeah, like he's definitely a good writer. Don't get me wrong. I just think, your strengths and weaknesses, But that's how I feel about this writer. I'm like, how can I dislike his Doctor Who work so much, but then love 2 of his shows very fondly? Like, I have great memories of watching Life on Mars and Ashes to Ashes as a kid, and I've been wanting to re-watch them both for a while. I think I rewatched... I watched Life on Mars again last year. I didn't get back around to Ashes to Ashes, but... there's actually an actor from Ashes to Ashes and Life on Mars in this episode, so that's pretty interesting.
Really?
Yeah, I think he probably wrote the role with him in mind. So
interesting.
I assume. I don't know, but I know some people do that.
I was gonna say as well. It has escaped me, this thought.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about? Ashes, Life on Mars. Oh no, the crime thing, the whole crime thing. Don't you think, now that you say that, because crimes are always, crime like thriller TV shows, anything like Broadchurch, Line of Duty, any of those sort of crime shows, crime dramas and stuff, they are all like, they obviously start with an incident, and then the following like 6 to 8 to 10 episodes, they're all like sort of working out how that incident happened.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you reckon that that's kind of what's sort of just happened in Who? Is like, you know, we heard The Timeless Children, and then the finale was sort of like, here's how it happened. But then almost that's like the start of it, really. Like, I feel like the next few seasons is that mystery unsolving. I don't know. Maybe it's kind of like basic mystery storytelling, I guess. But
well,
I just think that there's definitely a lot of correlation there.
Yeah, even, what's his fucking name from Women Who Fell to Earth? That's how I remember all these villains are. What's his name? Song Kar or something?
Oh, Tim Shaw?
Tim Shaw. Like, there was that whole mystery there. It was like, he'll be coming back.
Oh.
There's always that as well.
Yeah.
So I get what you mean.
And I think the obvious crime drama aspect is the fact that Yaz is a cop. I think that's the biggest one.
Yeah. Which is a really interesting thing that never really gets used, so... Either way.
What else is interesting is that I can't seem to find anything on the director, Julian Simpson.
Hey, Simpson!
He doesn't have a Wikipedia page, so it's hard to... I'm just going through TARDIS Wiki now to see, but Julian Simpson only directed these 2 episodes of Doctor Who. Yeah, even TARDIS Wiki, it has nothing on it about him.
Can you blame him for
leaving
after this?
Yeah, it says that his only real time period active as a director was 2011, so...
He just did 2 episodes and quit TV forever.
Yeah, he was like, that's enough. That's enough for me.
I don't blame him, to be fair. And with Peace and Love, I hate the look of this episode. It's so boring and dull and colourless, and I know that's what they're going for, but I hate it. It's gross. It could have been done so much better. Like, look at Game of Thrones, for example.
I agree mostly. It falls into the very, like, it's
sorry,
so
the connection's a bit fucky.
But, you're good. The episode kind of falls into the thing of it, like, it's so blue. But then you do get the odd scene, I think, where there is, like, a nice balance of colour. And that stuff, I think, looks good. It's just a shame that a good 70% of the episode just looks dull. Because some scenes, you know... I was comparing it to Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, right? The only Harry Potter film to get nominated for an Oscar, which was for its cinematography.
Interesting.
And for a while, I thought Half-Blood Prince was actually one of the most ugliest looking ones, because it is kind of like this murky, dull vibe. But the more I watch it, the more I really love its cinematography, and I appreciate it. Because it does actually find a nice balance of, like, dullness but also, like, putting a bit of colour in there. And I think those, like, 30% of these episodes did that really well. But then in Half-Blood Prince, there's one scene that I think the cinematography is horrendous in, not necessarily the shots, but the color grading, because they go for, like, it's when Harry's fighting Draco in the toilets, because then when Draco gets what's the spell called? It begins with an S. Something happens, and Draco ends up, like, bleeding out. Spoilers for Half-Blood Prince. Draco bleeds out on the floor. And so basically the way they color graded that scene was to be like almost black and white. It's that desaturated, but it makes the red really come out when the blood bleeds. So it makes it really impactful. You know, there's thought behind it, but it just makes the majority of the scene look so dull and so, like, just boring. And I think that's what 70% of this episode is just that dullness.
Yeah, it's very dull. All I was going to say was, like, I think Game of Thrones is a really good example of how you do, like, dark colours and do it very well. Like, you know, there's a lot of scenes in, like, especially in, like, Winterfell or something, in, like, dark, gloomy castles, but it's done well. Like, light is used really well. Blue's used really well.
Yeah,
like,
I agree,
you know.
yeah.
So, it's just, for me, I found it very hard, especially as a 2-parter. Every time I watch this, I'm like, this could have been done in one part. I don't know how they can do an episode like Good Man Goes to War and it works so well, and that was just the one part, so I don't see why this had to be 2 parts. Like, I really don't. I really wish they did something else. You know, it's like, especially considering this season was, you know, part 1 of season 6, like, it wasn't a lot to give fans, and, like, you had limited spots, limited episodes. If you're going to split the season in half, I don't know why this had to be 2 parts. I really don't. Like, this could have been done as, like, a a bit of a, prequel to Good Man Goes to War. If it was one part, I could have dealt with it a bit more, but especially in part 2, man, like, I really was just switching off. Like, I couldn't focus.
That's really interesting, though, because I thought part 1 had the most dullest moments.
Fair enough.
And because that's when that plot is most in play, like the main plot of the two-parter, the Ganger plot and all that. That's when that's most in play. And then the second part actually brings in a few more character-driven elements and things like that do actually lead into Good Man Goes to War. So
somehow,
I actually preferred the second part a lot more over the first part. I actually kind of did enjoy the second part, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't think it was great by any means, but in comparison to the first part, I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, fair
Let's
enough.
get into the episode, shall we?
Let's get into it.
Shall we talk about it scene by scene?
Scene by scene.
Love to do.
So we start with all the crew in this fucking castle, and they're just doing their work, and then they're just kind of like messing around, and then one of their like crewmates falls into this like. Is it the jizz? Is that what it is, or is it just the acid? I think it's just the acid.
I think no, that's when they fall into the acid.
That's acid,
because the jizz doesn't make you bleed.
It's kind of a cool setup. Like, I like how they're like, oh, don't be so glum. It's not like anyone got hurt. It's kind of an intriguing setup, and then it cuts to Aiden's favourite scene because they're playing Muse in the TARDIS.
I love that. It's just a fun way to start it, eh? But you know what crossed my mind in this scene? Was like, they're obviously playing darts on the TARDIS, very much a pub vibe.
Yeah.
They're playing it on the TARDIS, all of time and space. Instead of going, let's go to the best pub of the 80s or something like that, they go, no, let's just play a little bit of darts in the TARDIS. Like, I know they kind of live in the TARDIS and stuff, and they want to pass time in it. And I guess, you don't always want to go out to things to pass time. Like, sometimes it is nice to just play a bit of pool at home with your dad or, your girlfriend or wife at this point. Yeah. So I get it, but it just did strike me as like, they were keen for an adventure. It's apparent at the start of the episode they're keen for an adventure. So I was just like, I don't know, maybe I'm looking into this minor thing a little bit too much, but...
Well, he does try, and we later find out, like, for the fucking, like, thousandth time, we get to see that dumbass monitor that's still somehow scanning if Amy's pregnant or not. And I guess the reason why it can't choose is because she is the flesh doppelganger. I guess that's kind of what I got from it. But it's still never explained. And, like, the amount of times in this first part of Season 6 we've had to hear Amy and Rory have a conversation about, but we still saw him die.
We saw him die. It's okay.
I do like how they handled it in part 2, where they had that conversation. She has that conversation with who she thinks is the Ganger Doctor, but it actually is the real Doctor. I thought that was really good. This episode isn't all full of awful moments, but
yeah,
I like that a lot.
I was surprised with how much this season there has been like real music in the season. Like, we were talking about how we don't remember there being much in the Moffat era. I remember when we were watching season 1, there was actually a lot of it in season 1.
Yeah, a bit of Tainted Love, episode 2.
Yeah. And even in Father's Day, there's a song that's on in the background, I think I remember as well. And I remember us saying, like, it's interesting how that, like, dribbles out. But in fact, season 6 right now has, a lot of modern songs in it. And from memory, season 7's got quite a bit as well. So that's interesting.
Yeah, from memory too, yeah. But we later find out the Doctor was actually trying to get rid of Amy and Rory because I guess he kind of suspects that Amy is his doppelganger, and he's kind of traced it back to this place. But again, from memory, I don't think they actually even explain it in Good Man Goes to War, but I'm not going to jump to conclusions yet because I don't remember, nor have I rewatched it yet. So I don't want to say anything about that because I don't want to prejudge. But he's trying to get rid of them, which I thought was cool, but they're like, well, where are you going type thing, and then they get caught in the fucking storm, and they land, and instantly, I just don't like the look of it. I don't like it, and I don't mind Doctor Who getting dark. If anything, I really love it. It's like Heaven Sent.
What do you think of the
same
whole
color template as this episode in places, but it was just done so much better.
What do you think of the solar tsunami?
I mean, where do I begin? Like, first of all, what the fuck? I mean, it's kind of... I think the idea is cool. Like, the idea that like they were in like the chambers when the Flash was still walking about, and it somehow fucked with it, and now the connection's broken, but they're still walking around. I think it kind of.
I just didn't understand how they're like, we've had 50 plus years of Doctor Who, and never once in his times traveling. This must be a really rare phenomenon to have happen. Like he's never mentioned it once. None of this has ever happened before in the show, right. And then all of a sudden it's like solar tsunamis. These are a thing. Da 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 da. Let's
right, because the TARDIS gets caught in it. Or whatever. You'd be like, well, that would happen more and more. Yeah.
The TARDIS bloody surfs the solar tsunami.
I feel like Doctor Who just brings in shit when it needs it because it suits the plot. They need a reason for them to get there somehow. But suddenly the Flash is walking around. They meet the crew, and they're like, "Oh, we're inspectors because of a solar storm that came through. There's going to be issues and all this dumb shit." But suddenly, and again, I like it's kind of like creepy to start off with like suddenly. Again, if I'm missing something here and jumping ahead, I have no idea. But I think what I'm thinking
There's not a lot.
Yeah, I think they start hearing a record playing. It's Dusty Springfield again, because Rory says that his mum loves Dusty Springfield, and then that's when the second you don't really get to see the gang as much yet, but that's when the second wave comes through.
The second wave, yeah, that's when it gets a little bit crazy.
Yeah, and that's when they black out. There's this really bad CGI shot of the Doctor climbing up a ladder, and then it's obviously a fucking green screen with CGI, and then he falls off, and they think they've been passed out for 10, 15 minutes, but actually it's been an hour, I think, or half an hour, something like that. And this is kind of when it gets a bit interesting because it's we could be talking to a ganger right now. We could be talking to the actual real person. It's I don't know, that concept is kind of interesting, but
then they start it's kind of cool, but hold the phone. There's a reason why I'm a bit hesitant about this, but they obviously start doing the whole the gangers, should we be sacrificing them for us? And the gangers, they want the revenge. That whole plot sort of starts to kick off. Now, the reason why I have an issue with this is because both episodes really do feel just like The Hungry Earth and Cold Blood, the Silurian two-parter from season 5. It becomes this thing of this ethical thing with similar backgrounds behind it, but and the way it's executed is not the same way. It's a two-parter, but beyond that, the pacing feels kind of the same. There's a chance that maybe this could work until someone dies, and then it's oh shit, no, now it's
and you got to work together.
Go downhill. They got to work together. There's a bit, it's a bit more so in the Silurian one, but they in a way kind of have hostages and stuff like that. It follows the same beats as that two-parter does, and that two-parter was only we only reviewed that a month or two ago.
Yeah, I was watching Harry's Moon in the Media when he reviewed Day of the Moon Impossible Astronaut, and he was I can't believe they've already written in already another race. It's we've been here since the Wheel and the Fire and stuff, and it's the Silurians were also saying that they've been here before. I know, I'm kind of starting to see you're right, they're starting to it's we've literally seen this last season, what's going on.
The other thing that's really weird is that they say that it's set in the year 52,000 or something.
Right.
And I know that they're in an old monastery, but nothing about this episode gives off, 52,000. Because all the production design is either...
No shit.
It's quite... Not cheap. It doesn't look like they've not put money into it, but it looks like it's intentionally cheap, raggedy kind of production design. And you're surely the year 52,000, surely things are a little fancier. And everything you see, it even comes down to the music. And I know Muse isn't to do with the plot, but it is something that kind of it gets your head thinking a bit more like present day when that
Right.
song comes on, and then Dusty Springfield.
Springfield,
Also,
yep.
obviously not a modern song, but
Yeah.
it's not that old of a song. But it's certainly not 52,000 song,
I get
So
what you
all
mean.
this stuff kind
Yeah.
of makes the setting just feel a bit naff. And even in part 2, when you see them go into the building, it just looks like a modern day city, like a modern day city building.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's like the odd, nothing we haven't seen before, really. The odd, like, how am I going to say it? It's like hologram that's like a live call, I guess. Like, that's it. And then, like,
Yeah.
you get to hear about the help in the second episode. They're like calling help, and it's like, we're on our way. It's like you never see any like ships or anything that shows us from the future. They're like, oh, we'll just pick you up from the roof, and it's like you assume they're in some fucking futuristic flying machine, but you have no idea.
Yeah, I think there's one mention to hover cars, I think.
Yeah,
well.
I know. It's like it's all like just imagine it. It's the future.
Yeah. But none of that is executed, which is just dumb.
There's a scene that, look, I don't like how it ends, but when Doctor Who gives off horror vibes, I'm all for it, and there are some creepy scenes in this episode which I appreciate, and I remember being a bit spooked as a kid. I remember specifically the scene in the first part where Rory follows, I think her name's Jennifer, down. I forget, but
yeah.
I just remember her name because it gets mentioned like 10 times because they're like that's like the doppelganger and the actual human who have the most like conflict. But I think he follows like her ganger down, and then like she coughs and like a load of like splurge like falls into the sink, and then she runs into the bathroom, and Rory goes down. It's like, where are you? And then Jennifer's head like smashes through the cubicle door and goes,
so bad.
why don't you just leave us alone, or something like that? And it looks awful. Christ. But
so
I remember it
bad.
scaring the living daylights out of me as a kid. I was like, But it's all dark. It's like all foggy. And that's when this episode is like, I think I do like the cinematography and direction and stuff, but that's just
because I do
little
think
bits I like.
I know it looks grey and bleak, but other than like the colours and the look of the episode, I do think it was actually like a pretty well shot episode. There were some cool shots in there, especially when they start to incorporate the multiple doctors and things
Interesting.
like that.
Yeah, that would have been
interesting. Some cool
yeah.
bits in there.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I've also got to mention this, not so much in part 2, but I noticed a lot of ADR on this episode. I know I Snapchat you and Dan it, and I noticed it so much, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like, again, this is the stuff that takes me out of the episode.
There's a bit. There is a couple. I think you've got to be careful though that sometimes ADR, maybe it seems like ADR, but just because you can't see the character saying the line doesn't necessarily mean it's ADR, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
but there is
I
a few actual ADR moments in there. Yeah,
I do try and be careful.
Where you can just tell because
the
sound doesn't sound like it's the sound from in the monastery.
Exactly.
It sounds like it's in a studio.
Exactly. So I do try and be careful about that, and you're right because that is true. But yeah, I'm 90% sure the 3 that I caught were ADR. Particularly the only one I caught in part 2 is when it's right in the beginning, and like the doctor's like, they're like shoving all the stuff at the door, stopping the gangs from coming in, and like there's literally a line from the doctor, and you can literally see his mouth is like not moving, like he's grabbing like a chair or something and turning away, and if you look correctly at his mouth, you can see it's not moving. I understand they got to do it for like plot reasons and all that. I think the stuff as well you can normally tell because it was just like it was like Jennifer was down here or something like that, and it's like we know that. Like, why the fuck do we have to hear this? Like,
yeah, exactly.
But still, and like all that, the times where like Jennifer's running after Rory, that's pretty creepy. I like how Rory's been given quite a lot of things to do in this episode. I like that. He seemed to have more.
But it is very like, it's so weird that he becomes a massive simp. Like, he obviously always simps Amy. Yeah. But it's just so weird that he's like kind of simping Jennifer.
A nurse.
And then you get this kind of thing that maybe Amy feels a little jealous at the start of the episode, but then that doesn't go anywhere, and then they're just like fine, and there's never a conversation had where she's like, I feel like maybe running off with Jennifer, you didn't, consult maybe me and how I was feeling about it. Like, it doesn't have to be an overly drama soapy kind of conversation, but I feel like any conversation, you're faced in danger, you're supposed to, stay with your partner or whatever. Yeah. But he's off chasing after this other woman who kind of, I feel, is, she's not coming on to him or anything like that, but she is, I don't know, looking for his sympathy, and she's, there's something, not, I don't want to say chemistry, but there is something there between them,
He's a nurse, Aiden. He's a nurse. Oh god, I hate that line. It always gets used so much.
Yeah, all the time.
Well, obviously we know previously the Doctor touched the flesh, and it's like we keep getting these dumb shots of lips coming out of it, going, "Trust me," and it's like, oh, this sucks.
Looks like bloody Lady Cassandra.
Looks like Lady Cassandra. I know. It's even got all the weird vein stuff in it. Ugh, it's so fucking gross. What a. It's such a gross episode.
Bloody gross.
Especially and I love the Doctor's wife, but this season has such a different vibe. It's quite jarring to go from 5 to 6. Especially after again, Doctor's wife. By no means, I loved it. I gave it a 9 out of 10. If you don't know, and you did the same, and so did Daniel. We all loved it.
Yeah.
But we're going from episode to episode to episode to episode that are all very dark, and it can be quite jarring to go from one after another, especially with Curse of Black Spot entirely set at night. Doctor's wife entirely set at night, and now these 2 episodes, apart from a couple of very very darky, lighty scenes, that's an awful way of describing them, but kind of they're all set at sunset, you know what I mean, or at night.
I agree. I think there is. I do like that it's tonally consistent, and I do kind of like this darker side of it. And the way it feels, I like the way it feels. It feels dark, and it feels a bit more scary and a bit more atmospheric than previous seasons. Yeah. But I think there's different ways of doing it, and I feel
I totally agree.
The 2 things that they do each week that has made it a bit it's the same setting, it's the same feeling, is the look of it is always the same. It's this bleak, dark look. And then they're playing very much into sort of horror in sort of the creature design and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's, you can obviously do that a few times in the season, but I feel like maybe they should play around with a few other aspects of how to give off this spooky, dark vibe, other than just these same traits,
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you there. But pretty much the final bit of this episode.
Sister.
Yes, sister. Hi, sisters. All the doppelgangers walk in, and they're like, bruh. One of them gets killed, which is going to start a war, and then suddenly we get to see the Doc come out of the shadows. Trust me, I'm the Doctor. Looking like jizz.
Trust me, I'm cum.
I wonder how Matt Smith felt about looking like that, wearing all the prosthetic. And the prosthetics are pretty cool here and there, to be fair. I'll give them that.
I think the prosthetics is alright, but I don't think the Doctor's one looks that good, especially in that first one. But you've got to think, surely someone made a cum joke. Oh,
100%.
Somebody
it's just so
have.
it's just I don't know, ugh, yeah, bloody moth.
Too good. It's too good not to.
Sometimes.
Bloody moth, that horny bugger, just all about that cum.
Horny. Well, that's part 1.
Horny. That is part 1. I did like the part 2 trailer. I quite like that.
So did I, quite frankly. Cool. Oh, did we? Was in part 1? Did we see a? I always forget her name. Is it Lady
Kavarian?
Madame Kavarian.
Yeah, Madame Kavarian.
There's one in both, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. I think because obviously it then leads into stuff. So into stuff in part 2.
Is it because
I do like the way that this story is kind of spaced, and it is the season 6 story is kind of playing out. I do kind of like that.
It's the reason why there wasn't one in Doctor's Wife again, wasn't it because of the episode order got flipped around quite a bit?
Maybe, but I think there's also an element of those sort of things, whilst Moffat is trying to make it quite serial. I think, it would be a bit much if we saw it every episode. It's like Bad Wolf, it was in, voice break there, it was in 70% of the episodes we had a Bad Wolf mention,
I'm pretty sure it's just not
I think it was just going for a similar thing.
Yeah, it just wasn't in Empty Child two-part, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe not Father's Day as well. No, it was in Father's Day. It's graffiti on the wall. Yeah, it's
on the posters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's just corrected. Yeah.
But I think, yeah, these things do get a little bit ham and overdone if every week we're seeing the same thing play out. Like, so I reckon it was a decision not to put it in there, but there is also the chance that the episodes were so filmed out of order that, and they didn't know what episode was going where, so maybe they didn't. That's why. Who knows? Who knows, as I like to say. Shall we move on to Australia's favourite segment, Connor?
Yep.
Let's do it. It's time for Goof of the Week. Thanks, mate.
All good.
So,
been a while since I've done that. So.
All right, so for part 1, the Rebel Flesh, we only have one production error on TARDIS Wiki. Did you have any production errors that you spotted?
Nah, none of that, except... oh, fuck, my laptop's... nah, just... For me, all I really have to say is the ADR that I caught. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I caught.
Yeah. I picked up on one in part 2 where... it was when we were playing with 2 doctors in that sort of main... not a lab, what's it called? Like, where all the screens were, and they were all hanging out there. A lot of the episodes set there. And one of the doctors is talking to Amy, and in the background you can see the other doctor. And the other doctor is obviously extremely out of focus. You can't tell... And I think a lot of that was really well done, actually, that you can't tell that it's not Matt Smith. But... when they then cut to the other doctor, he's like looking and he's sat in like a completely different position. Like in the out of focus shot, he's like sat down, kind of twisted to the person next to him, looking at them. But in the actual shot of Matt, when we see when we see that same doctor, like a second later, he's sort of sat front on, looking in at the conversation that was happening in front of him. So just like inconsistencies there.
Yeah, I get you.
So we have one here for the Rebel Flesh on TARDIS Wiki, which is the positions of the 2 cards on top of the card pyramid slightly alter between shots. Also, when looking towards the Doctor, the top left card changes between being an 8 of diamonds and a court card.
Oh,
God
Lord.
forbid.
Is that for parts 1 and 2?
Son. No, that's just part 1 there. I'll head over to the Almost People now.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if there'll be any mentions of Amy's nails, because that's twice in a row. There was 2 weeks in a row there where
of course.
they've spoken about Amy's nail inconsistencies. God damn it. God.
Get your shit together, Doctor.
Right, a few here over on the Almost People. The Ganger Doctor, posing as the Doctor, hands the sonic screwdriver to the Doctor, posing as the Ganger Doctor. God, that's complicated, isn't it? So he could go find Rory and Jennifer with it, and see in the possession of it. So he could go with Rory and Jennifer with it, and is seen in possession of it at all times. Sometime later, the Ganger Doctor and the other humans are locked up by Rory and Jennifer's Ganger in the acid room. The Ganger Doctor proceeds to scan the acid with the sonic screwdriver. After that, the Doctor gives the sonic screwdriver to the Ganger Doctor so he could face off the mutated Jennifer. I'm so confused. There's so many Ganger Doctors in that sentence, so I'm just gonna... We'll just skip that little one.
I'm so confused.
When the TARDIS falls to the ceiling, the doors are facing away from the camera. The Ganger then comments on how she does like to make an entrance. However, when cut back to the TARDIS, at the same angle as before, the doors are now facing the camera. Classic stitch-up.
Oh, Lord.
When the Ganger Doctor and Cleves are holding the door shut, the TARDIS dematerializes. But when the Ganger Doctor and Cleves swing the door open to dissolve Jennifer, the box is slightly visible in the background. Classic. God, that looks shit. That whole scene is just so bad. When the Doctor and Buzzer discover Jennifer's body, Sarah Smart is visibly breathing. Classic.
Jennifer's body. That's a movie.
When the Doctor discovers the Ganger Amy, he extends the screwdriver. The camera cuts to Rory, and when it cuts back, the screwdriver is closed. In subsequent cuts, the screwdriver is open again. Classic.
What a stitch up.
Just quite a few ones there. I'm surprised we didn't notice, but yeah, that's cool. Sorry, by the way, guys, I will say I spoke to Conor about this. I had a few issues that came up just before we went live, so I didn't have time to do the research. So that's why me reading through these production areas and stuff on TARDIS Wiki, it's a bit rough this week, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
I thought you did fine.
Oh, thanks, man.
Oh, good. Can we quickly talk about... We need to talk about, just before we go to part 2, there's a fucking character in this episode, and, like, he's part of the crew, and like, I don't even know why he's there. Like, I don't remember his name. Like, he did nothing, and then he just dies at the end of the second part. And then I think his ganger then has to go.
Yeah.
Literally does nothing. Has like no lines, no emotion.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
Literally, literally,
yeah.
It's just it's bizarre to me.
That's
why
standard.
write another character like that if they're just not going to do anything with him? Like, they did nothing. Every other character kind of did something, but he literally just sat in the corner pretty much the whole episode.
That happens a lot of the time in Doctor Who, particularly Moffat Who, when they have like big ensemble casts and they just don't. Yeah, there's a few characters kind of get the spotlight, and then a few of them don't. You know, one thing maybe to note with this episode is that the characters that do get a bit more fleshed out are just so boring and bleak. Like, the main lady that you're kind of meant to care about, she just kind of comes off a little bitchy and a little tough to love,
annoying,
you know? Yeah. And then, you know, one of them is extremely underdeveloped, like you said. One of them, I think he's the one that you're talking about from Thingy Mars, Life on Mars. Is he the one that the ganger of him dies in the first part?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. He's alright, but just a little bleak and doesn't really have much enthusiasm behind him and stuff like that. And then you have Jennifer, who just comes off quite whiny and annoying.
Yeah.
And then there's the other one, the guy that has the kid that we see a bit. I quite liked him, but I think that's because the whole time I was watching him, he's a main character in one season of Line of Duty. You know, like I've said, the show I'm watching at the moment. He's the main character in season 2 of Line of Duty. And he's, really, his performance is really good in that. And it's similar to how he is in this, actually, except in this one, he's maybe a little warmer. And I think, considering how bleak all these characters were, because this character is slightly warmer than the other characters in terms of having the child side story and stuff like that, I think that's maybe why he shines a little bit more to me.
Yeah, that was the only death I was ever like, it kind of sucks. Like, everyone else was just like,
yeah.
I have no, and even
Totally.
that, I didn't really have any like emotional attachment to. I was like, it sucks that he'll never see his son again, and there was a bit of emotion behind the fact that now this ganger who he didn't like at the start now has to take on the role of being the father. Apart from that, I didn't think about it again until we're having this conversation right now. That was it. Like, I did not think about it.
It happens really quick as well, that death, and I also feel, you know, it's just kind of fucked up that he dies, and then it's like, oh, the ganger can take his place. He'll never know. And it just... I know the whole point is that these people are the same, but it just is a bit...
It doesn't make
you know,
sense,
it's
though.
not
Like,
the same.
surely, like, I don't know if they go, to the corporation and like, okay, we are actually the Flesh, which means they'll have to have that conversation about it. But I'm like, surely if it's a secret, though, they'll, like, eventually find out when he goes to the fucking doctors or something, or burns himself and he starts to, like, melt or something. It's like, you're going to have that conversation one day.
You're full of cum.
Ah, there you go. Fair enough. Either way, the doctor, there's 2 doctors. It's pretty cool.
Whoa.
I don't know why.
It's fun, isn't it?
He's kind of like, there's David Tennant sound bites, there's a Tom Baker, do you want a jelly baby?
Yeah, would you like a jelly baby?
And it's just obviously Matt Smith mouthing it.
Yeah, just fucking orgasming.
Oh,
yeah.
Lord.
No, I think he says the lines. I think Matt says the lines.
And they just dub it over with the soundbite.
No, I don't think it's sound bites. I think Matt is actually just doing an impression of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I got from it. I didn't think they were sound bites.
I know one time Pete does this in, but he does it really well. He did it really well for Tom Baker. He did. I don't think he meant to do it, but like he does a really cool sort of impression of Tom Baker in Mummy on the Orient Express. I know people notice that. I'll point it out to you when we get there eventually. But hey, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know when they switch shoes? Is it after this scene?
It must be. I don't know.
That got me
Didn't
again.
really pick up on it.
I liked that. I liked it in the end when they're like, so from here on out, who you think is the ganger? Because the doctor's shoes start to melt because he got jizz on them in the first episode. And they started to decompose. So yeah, they switched shoes, which I thought was smart. It was clever. it fooled me, but mostly because I hadn't seen this episode in years, so I'm not going to remember that. But I did like that. Jennifer's still running around. Rory's in the shadows going, Jennifer, are you okay? And then she starts wrestling with her ganger, and then she falls into the flesh and starts to melt. And it's like, what is going on here? Like, and then like it's this horrible CGI shot.
That we see the CGI flesh. Is that what you're gonna say? Where it's like a fuck ton of the flesh just oozing onto each other?
For God's sake! I get what they're going for. It's like it's kind of going for, I guess, like a, you know, like, oh, this is like how animals are treated. Like now it's being done with humans. This is something that could probably happen in the future, but it's done in such a preachy, boring way, and I'm like, I seriously don't care. What I hate most in Doctor Who is like wasted potential. Like, I feel like this could have been done really in a really cool way, but it just wasn't. Like,
yeah,
I'm sorry, it's just not.
I think it's actually an anti-cum advert, and it's saying like, you know, think of the children, think of the children you're losing, knows? And that's what the pile represents. It's symbolic.
Can someone tell me what it was going for? Because the episode itself can't really tell me. I do like how like they're setting up traps for each other because they are themselves. They know, like, if it, like, there's this scene where they want to set a password, like a code word for when the plane comes to pick them up. Like, we want you to pick us up, but don't pick up the gangers. They like to give us a password. But it's kind of like, sure, you'd be thinking like she's made out to be this smart character, and it's like, well, if I think up a password, surely my ganger will. If it's like the password I use for everything,
yeah,
surely my ganger will be like, oh, what's the we all know the passwords we use for stuff. It's like, surely you would know.
Don't you think as well, the whole blood clot thing for this lady just kind of comes out of nowhere and nothing happens with it, and it's so easily fixed at the end where, you know, all the people get to like move on with their lives, and then she turns to the doctor like, what about me? What about my blood clot? Like, surely you just wouldn't even ask. Like, I wouldn't assume that there was a cure to blood clots on the TARDIS. You know, it was just extremely convenient. I think that she was like, Doctor, my blood clot. Surely you can do something about it. We weren't even talking about it. I'm just going to bring it up. And then the doctor was like, oh yes, I have this thing conveniently right here for you.
Maybe she got the Pfizer jab. That causes blood clot, doesn't it?
No, that's AstraZeneca. This is some wrong COVID-19 information here, Connor. AstraZeneca. That's the one that dogs the boys.
There you go. Well, in this land of Doctor Who, coronavirus was eons ago. So there you go.
We love it.
It's kind of chaotic and it's kind of interesting. Like, everything's kind of happening at once. Rory's being chased by like a CGI'd. It's just a mess. Like, it's not much to talk about really. Rory's getting chased. He's they kind of split up. Like, but again, you're right. Like, he chooses Jennifer over Amy. He's like, I gotta save her. Like, it's like, what? Why? You just met her.
Stand by your girl.
Literally, go with Amy. And then like they lock themselves in the room. They're like trying to figure shit out. Amy's like, I'm sorry, I don't trust you. I trusted this doctor. And again, looking back on the episode now, and it is smart that like she was actually talking to the doctor and the ganger. She was like telling all the personal stuff to. Like, again, I think that was the thing that got me the most throughout the episode, which I thought was pretty smart. But yeah.
That flush thing that is like following them around at the end. You know, creepy in concept, like the design of it, the long hair, it's really thin, white, lanky on four legs. Yeah. But it just looks trash.
Yeah, it reminds me of Lazarus.
It looks so bad. Yeah, even worse, I think.
Yeah, it's like awful, like big CGI. If I was a writer on Doctor Who, the last thing I would ever do would be write a big monster, because I know the CGI would probably not hold up, and it would just make my episode look bad.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'd want like prosthetics, like a really cool design, like, I don't know. I know it's going for this big epic like chase at the end, like get Murray going. It's running down hallways,
the final sequence, finalish sequence, the climax when they're running down the corridors. So many fucking problems I have with this. The TARDIS just happens to sink through.
Aiden, before that,
hello.
Do you want to just quickly talk about that one scene with Amy and the Doctor when like he shoves her against the wall quickly. Before
of course, yeah. I
sorry,
about that.
sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off, but I think we should probably talk about that.
No, you're good. It's your job. It's your job.
My job.
I think I really liked it. I thought Matt was great in that scene, and I thought Karen was great, and I liked the implications that it had on the story that followed after that.
Yeah,
I think it was really great.
And you don't know in that scene that that's the actual Doctor. So she's like, fuck it, I can tell you because you're not him that I saw you die, so now he knows. I think that's awesome.
There's a lot of coolness that comes through rewatching it. Like I know you said it kind of caught you off guard and you forgot about that, but I did. I think I forgot for the first couple of scenes, but definitely by the time that scene happened, I was like, oh no, this is the real Doctor that's doing it. And so I was picking up on that, and you know when Amy says about that, she's seen the Doctor die. You see on his face, and it's really cool that in his performance you can kind of see him like, what the fuck is she talking about?
He's putting all the pieces together now. He's like, that's why they were acting weird.
Yeah,
like yeah,
totally. And you can see it, but you know, as just watching it for the first time, you just kind of see it as it's the look on the Doctor's face. But there's actually a lot more under that is to be appreciated, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I have the strangest feeling that this was Moffat's idea to do the whole like we'll switch the Doctors around, but I might be wrong. But I don't know.
It's a very Moffat thing, I think.
Yeah, I feel like Either way, yeah. Anyway, you can continue now. You were saying about that final hallway scene.
This hallway scene, you know, okay, the TARDIS comes through the ceiling, happens to land right where they need it.
How
so convenient at the exact time. This fucking thing's been sinking for like a day, and it comes down at this specific moment.
Ooh, how convenient.
I love it. So great. So many other problems. Obviously, they're running through the corridors, and then one bloke's like, oh, I'll close the door. And he runs to the door.
I'll do it.
It's jammed. He gets it unjammed, then turns, sees the creature there, and closes himself in with it. Like, are you... Excuse me? I chuckled when that happened. I was like, how? How on God's fucking earth was that? And there was no point in his death as well. No one felt sympathy.
Nah.
They might as well have just had him, like, have a cool, like, quickly closes it in time and runs and catches up with everyone. That's, like, a cool moment for his character, and he can go and live off with the other ones. There was no reason to have to kill him there. It didn't add any stakes. It didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
The only thing I can get out of it was, like, that his ganger now was like, now I'm the only thing left of him. It's like, I don't feel any emotion here at all.
So bad. So bad. Frickin' heck. And then my mate from Line of Duty dies, and like I said, I was conflicted because I was like, it's kind of fucked up that there's going to be this weird guy that's kind of technically not his dad is going to be his dad. A little bit weird. And then, you know, they run to go off into the TARDIS, and then it was just so convenient that, you know, Ganger Doctor and other Ganger were like, we'll stand back and sacrifice ourselves. Like, surely the Doctor sees them as living beings like he has been doing the whole way through the episode, and is like, oh no, we'll find another way to solve this. Just come into the TARDIS and we'll figure out stopping this cum monster, you know, another time. Anyway, so they're standing there and they do the fucking let's get the dogs, open the door, hold the Sonic together. Horrendous shot for one. Two massive things that I hate about this moment. The shot from behind where they melt, it's so bad. They look like PNG images as they melt away. It all looks gross. And I'm sorry, Murray, I don't know whether this scene was edited at like a very last minute, like something was cut and that's why it looks shit. And then because it was cut, Murray had to do something whack with the score. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the score dies down, and then they bring in the Curse of the Black Spot theme, and it's really bad because it's like dun dun da 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 dun 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 da da da, and then before it finishes that little cue, it fades to black really suddenly and out of nowhere. It fades to black, and the score fades out like mid-score. It's like an amateur, like, you know, it's like if I made a fucking Doctor Who audio or a Doctor Who short film or something. It's like it's so amateur.
Right.
Like, it's genuinely like. Go back and watch that shit, Connor, because that's fucking not on. Like, it's really bad.
Right. Yeah, it's pants. It's like, there's no emotion. I remember that's like the one scene I remembered from the second episode going into it. I was like, I remember that scene being quite intense. And sure it is, but also there's no meat on those bones. There ain't nothing. Ain't nothing.
It's just flesh, mate. Sorry,
flesh.
there's no flesh.
Just flesh. And then
It's
just
cum.
jizz. And they drop off... See, I didn't fucking know their characters' names. Nor do I care. They drop off the two characters and they're like... And it's like, go and start a revolution. Tell people about the flesh. And it's like, you're supposed to care that, like... There's people are doing this all over the country or the fuck it is. And you're like, you don't care. Like, it's...
Yeah.
At this point, I was just like, I'm so interested to see how they deal with this whole Amy thing. And I'm still confused. Again, I haven't... Have you watched Good Man Goes to War yet? Have you rewatched it?
Not yet, no.
Okay, yeah, it's the same. Like, I'm not entirely sure how it's gonna like tie into it, but the Doctor keeps saying throughout the two episodes, he's like, keep breathing and stuff, and it's like, what the hell's going on?
Oh, that was all a bit random. It doesn't. I don't know. I wasn't huge on that part of it because it is very like, you know, I don't think that would actually be happening. I don't think he would actually be saying that stuff. I think that stuff's for the audience, you know. So that at the end, you're like, whoa, he was saying this
It
all
all
along.
connects. He was saying it all along. Yeah.
The other slight thing before we get into that stuff is I just want to say how shit it is when... Well, it's not shit, sorry, but there's like a really short scene where my mate from Line of Duty, I like calling him my mate, the cum version of him goes and sees his son. Once again, kind of made me feel a little uncomfortable that it was just his first time seeing his son. They're the best mates. But then, for some God knows reasons, it's like a 1 second shot. Only time, I'm pretty sure, in the entire 3 seasons of this costume, that you see the tweed jacket buttoned up. And it just, it looks weird.
I did notice that.
I've always thought it was weird. Even as a kid, the first time I watched it, I was like, why are they... Maybe it was just cold and Matt... Or maybe Matt had spilt something or something on his shirt and they were like, we'll just butter it up and...
That's right.
I don't know.
There's always stuff like that I see, and like, I never take notes, which is my own fault. But there's always stuff like that I see, and I always forget to bring them up, like little tidbits like that. Normally nothing huge. But yeah, that is funny. I did notice that. So they go back to the task and like, look, I wanted to get rid of you because Amy's not been the same since America. I wanted to check this place out on my own. I tried to get you guys to go, but you wouldn't. He's like, Rory, leave her alone. Amy, you're going to be fine. We're going to come get you. You haven't been used since America or something like that. And then he flicks his stomach and she turns into cum.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I do like.
Didn't see that coming.
Like the.
What up?
I don't like the whole cum effect. Is just, you know, it kind of ruins the intensity of the scene. But I do really like. And I remember you saying it was rushed. I didn't think it was that rushed. I quite liked it. I think Rory's great in it. How he's scared because he really has to trust the Doctor in this moment. You know, he wants to comfort for the first time this fucking two-parter. He wants to comfort and be with his girlfriend.
Now that Jennifer's gone.
Now that Jennifer's out of the picture, he wants to be with his girlfriend, his wife, and he really has to put a lot of trust in the Doctor. For this moment, and so that I quite liked, and Amy's scared. What did you think?
Yeah, I it's definitely a highlight of the episode for me. Out of both of them, again, it was a scene I was really interested to see where it would go. I'm more excited to see Good Man Goes to War and like how it all leads into it, and if they actually do explain what's up. I don't think they'll give an explanation, but I'm also just excited to see Good Man Goes to War because I remember it being really cool as a kid. So it'll be...
Yeah, I have fond memories of it.
It's been such a mixed bag so far, season 6. I feel like I either really love it or just really hate it. Like, I loved the first two-parter.
I don't know either.
The two-parter at the beginning was great. Loved Doctor's Wife. Really didn't like Curse of Black Spot. Really didn't like this two-parter. And I have a feeling I'm going to really like next week. But then we just got... I know, there's always like duds and greats, and it's just such a... It's such a bipolar season, you know. It's like all over the shop, you know. I don't know.
Very much.
That's just how I see it. But
okay, so then we just get the last moment where we have Madame Kavarian open up, and we see it's actual pregnant Amy. And that's how it ends, and then we have like kind of a Russell T Davies style continue come on the screen. It reminded me a lot of that, which I think was cool.
No next time trailer either.
Yeah, good cliffhanger. Yeah, which was good. Good plus as well.
I did like that.
Anything away.
Again, I was at the end of the credits and there wasn't anything, so I was like, cool. I didn't watch. I don't know if it even is a TV trailer, but I was like, I'm not going to watch a TV trailer. I'm just going to go straight into it. So I'm going to watch it. I go away on holiday this Friday for a couple of days, so I'm going to watch it on my holiday with Dan. I'm very excited. It's gonna be really good. Like literally, this is how much we've come in a year. Oh, there you go. How far we've come in a year. When I went to my trip last year, I watched Boomtown with Daniel. Now I'm watching Good Man Goes to War. So, and it's pretty much been a year since we last went. So there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
That's good shit. Before we get into the final segments, one thing I want to say, and I kind of couldn't find all the episodes, but and we don't need to talk about them in detail. I just wanted to say this moment in Who is really cool because season 6 on the Blu-ray alone, you've got so much bonus content, which is obviously far beyond anything we get now. Now on the Blu-rays, we get the episodes, and usually maybe 2 or 3 5-minute behind the scene looks or something like that. There's nothing on them now, just skin and bones. But the amount of extras and love and care that goes into the season 6 box set for one. So you get Time and Space, the awesome 2-parter they did for I think Comic Relief, back in the day was just awesome, and it's just such an exciting 2-parter. It's really inventive, and in fact just a lot more interesting than the mini-zodes that Russell was doing, and it is really cool. But then also on the Blu-ray, you get 4 Blu-ray/DVD exclusive minisodes that are only on the box set. And I think they're called Good Night, Bad Night, First Night, Last Night is what they're called. And they're really cool. Good Night and Bad Night, they kind of work together almost. They're individual episodes that kind of work as a 2-parter. But they're cool, and you get a nice emotional scene between the Doctor and Amy at one point. But then the real highlight is First Night and Last Night. I guess there's an argument of whether these are canon, right? So I don't think these... Conor, I think you watched Time, Space, and... Was it Good Night, Bad Night with Amy? Were they the ones you watched?
I didn't actually end up even watching them, but I'm pretty sure I've seen them before. So
oh, okay.
I couldn't find them.
Well,
from what I could tell, but yeah.
First Night and Last Night has River in them, and it's really great because basically what happens throughout the 2 episodes is, the first episode starts and the Doctor's about to go on a date with River. He's about to sneak out with River on a date, but then the next thing is multiple rivers of the iteration. I can't talk. Multiple versions of River end up coming into the TARDIS from different times, and the Doctor,
that's awesome.
One River will come in and she'll be like, all right, I'm just going to go get dressed into my dress, and he'll be like, no worries. And then the next River will come into the TARDIS, and the Doctor will be like, what are you doing here? And he's trying to, he doesn't want to say I've got another River in the TARDIS,
right?
But this River's like, why is there a dress on the side there? And he's like, oh, nothing, it's for me or something or whatever. And he'll be like, okay, go get dressed for the day over in that room. And she goes off into another room. Then a third version of River comes off into the TARDIS. And the same thing happens again. It's really funny. It's very Moffat, very slapstick. One thing, by the way, Moffat wrote all 6 of these minisodes, which is great. But then you have this cool moment. The Doctor gets one of the iterations of River to use a vortex manipulator, and she teleports out. His version of River's still in a room. But then one of the other versions of River comes out, and then the version of River, the version of Matt that version of River was meant to go on a date with, then walks into the TARDIS, and he's like, come on, River, get back on our date, leave this bloke, and the current version of the Doctor looks at this other version of the Doctor. And he's like, they say something like, oh, we're going to the Seeing Towers of, what is it, Bolivium or something?
No shit.
Yeah, and so
cool.
She walks out, and then the current version of the Doctor looks to this future version of the Doctor, and he says, back in the library, that's when we said the last time we'd see her would be. And the Doctor's like, yeah, it is.
No shit.
And there's this really sad moment between them, before that version of the Doctor walks off, and then the current version of the Doctor, his River comes out into the TARDIS console room, and and then that's it. So that was so so there's 2 versions of the Doctor and 3 versions of River in that episode. So it was really hard to summarize.
In the scene, is Matt wearing a white tuxedo in one of the scenes or something like that?
He is, yeah.
Okay, alright. I think I can find these on YouTube, but I think they're just going to be a bit scattered. So I will try and watch them for next week and let you know.
Yeah, cool. Because they are really good. And, like I said, there's an argument of whether it's canon or not. Because obviously Pete ends up taking her to the Singing Towers.
The Singing Towers, yeah.
But, maybe the Doctor doesn't end up going there. Maybe he did a fucking Moment on the Orient Express and he's like, oh, we'll squeeze in one last adventure before we go there or something,
Yeah, I was going to say about that, but yeah.
Anyways, shall we move on to Australia's second favourite segment?
Let's do it.
It's time for Behind the Scenes. Yeah, baby. Once again, I apologise because I'm reading these straight off of TARDIS Wiki. Matthew Graham, who also wrote this episode, is the co-writer of the series Life on Mars and its sequel series Ashes to Ashes. Marshall Lancaster, who appears in this episode, plays the character of Chris Skeleton on both of these shows. So there you go. That's the character you were talking about.
Correct, Mundo.
By the conclusion of this episode, the entire active TARDIS crew has either had or been a duplicate of themselves, although this is not fully revealed until later, when the Pandora opens the Big Bang and the Almost People. Yeah, so everyone's been duplicated by this point.
Yeah.
The scene involved... Moffat really loves having multiple versions of characters, because Space and Time, that minisode, is all about that as well. Obviously, it happens with... Freaking hell, what was I going to say? It's got elements of that in the Christmas Carol. It happens at the start of... what's it called? The Impossible Astronaut. There's multiple versions of the Doctor.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think as well.
And then that other mini-zone with 3 versions of River and 2 versions of the Doctor. Obviously now we have all the gangers. And I'm sure it happens again. Doesn't the Tesselector turn into a version of Amy at one point when Amy's there as well?
Yeah, it turns into Amy, yes.
God, he loves to do this shit.
He loves it.
Madness. He loves it. He loves it, mate. Once again, maybe it's part of his fetish. The scene involving the Doctor's investigation of an acid pipe outside the factory is reminiscent of the Doctor's investigation of tyre treads on Androzani Minor in the Caves of Androzani. That's Peter Davison's classic story, I believe. His final story, I believe.
Interesting.
As is routine for post-2005 Doctor Who, a next time trailer for the episode is shown at the end of the episode. Wow. I'm really glad that TARDIS Wiki decided to put that in there. I would be lost without that fact.
Thank you,
The third
TARDIS
edition
Wiki.
of A History dates the story... Oh, fuck, no, I'm not even... That one doesn't even make sense. I'm not going there. Bloody hell. Alright, now we'll move on to some behind-the-scenes facts of the Almost People. Woo!
Almost.
I'm glad at least, even though a lot of these facts are kind of dumb, usually there's like hundreds of them, and for this one there's only like 5 dot points for all of them, so that's really nice. So, while the episode premiered in the UK on the 28th of May, so this is for part 2 now, for the Almost People, the US premiere was delayed 1 week to prevent a drop in viewership over the Memorial Day weekend. A Good Man Goes to War also aired 1 week late as a result. I feel like that's missed opportunity for the US to be like a double episode, because it's considering it like runs straight into it. Like,
double ep.
Cool. Wow. The 2-part story is thematically similar to the Series 5 two-parter, The Hungry Earth and Cold Blood. In both stories, the Doctor attempts to broker a peace between 2 life forms on Earth, only to have the truth shattered by mistrust on both sides. Like I said, there you go. This is the 9th time the actor playing the Doctor has portrayed a different character in the same television story. This previously happened as William Hartnell in The Chase and the Massacre. Patrick Troughton in The Enemy of the World. I really want to see that. That looks great. It looks like a James Bond style classic Who story. I think it's like there's someone on Earth or something looks exactly like the Doctor, and it's played by Patrick Troughton as well as like a really menacing villain.
Fair enough.
And so it just seems cool. Tom Baker in The Android Invasion and in Meglos. God, I hate Meglos. That's so shit. Peter Davison in The Ark of Infinity and in The Caves of Androzani. Arc of Infinity has Omega in it, but apparently it's shit. I've not seen that one. Can't comment. And David Tennant in Journey's End, of course.
Hey, Journey's End.
Shout out to Journey's End. As the Doctor passes the wall of eyes, which was shit, by the way. Fuck, that was weird.
Yeah, what was that?
The eyes
That's
have
so weird.
A reference to the announcement of the British House of Commons, where the words the eyes or the notes have it are uttered by the Speaker of the House after a vote. Wow, great. Thanks for that. But yeah, what a weird scene. That's so weird.
Awful.
All right. Is it time for Australia's third favourite segment, Connor?
Oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's bring in the clowns. It's time for Just Twitter Tings. Thanks, Connor.
All good.
Thanks, mate.
All good.
Thanks, mate.
All good.
I am just going on to Twitter, seeing what everyone's saying. Oh, shout out to Jacob for making another 50% Doctor Who podcast meme, this time with Daniel and the Toclophane. That was a bit of fun.
Wasn't it Dylan who made the first one? Didn't Dylan make the Drake one?
Oh, he might have. Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you nevertheless.
Actually,
that was really funny. And it's always awesome. Like, it kind of helps with convincing my dad that people actually do watch my show. When I say, hey, this man went out of his time to actually make some almost fan art. Dad, people actually watch my show.
Oh my God. Still waiting on me pegging Conor over the TARDIS console. That's some fan art I'm still awaiting.
Ever do that.
One day someone will do it, and I'll be really happy.
God's
really happy.
sake.
I'll be almost as happy as some of the stuff in The Almost People. You know what I'm saying? I might be making some gangers.
Oh my.
On Twitter, I asked, what are your thoughts on the Cum two-parter, aka The Almost People on the Rebel Flesh? Write them below and we'll read them on the show.
Sure.
Dylan says, really boring, interesting idea, cool setting, ? But the characters are just so meh to me and I just don't care. Come out of 10. Also,
Come out of 10.
Long neck, wide mouth, scary cum woman is funny. That's very true. It's very funny.
True words Dylan said.
Now, Jacob over on the Now That's What I Call Comedy podcast, get around it. He says, it's coming home, but spelled with coming in capital letters. So, there you go. That's a little soccer reference for you. Oh, sorry, football. Cause,
it didn't come home, unfortunately.
Everyone's English that listens to this. Yeah, he then followed up a day later saying, we should be proud that they made it that far. We played well. Football will come home one day. Missed opportunity, though. In the come home one day, he spelled it as the correct way of saying come. Missed opportunity.
Again.
Then we also have a new writer here, William Oxley. He says, it's a really underrated two-parter and honestly one of my favorites. What? That's surprising. I've not heard many people talk about this way, so that's interesting.
People do
and
like
can I
it,
just
I've
say
heard.
that this fandom, for all its toxicity, decided that this story shall be known as the Cum episode, and that couldn't make me happier. There we go. I said it's one of the funniest things to come out of the fandom in recent times, and I'll stand by that. It's really funny. One of the best memes in a while.
You done?
I am done.
Awesome.
I've come.
I did just retweet Jacob's picture of Dan. I put some awesome Dan art instead of fan art.
That's funny.
Thank you.
Nice
I'm
one.
here all week with peace and love. Quickly, I do want to mention before we jump into the reviews. Oh no, I'll do this afterwards. Either way,
Mm-hmm.
I'll jump into the reviews first. Got one from Dylan. Just said "come," so thank you, Dylan. We love that.
We come that.
My lovely girlfriend Kimmy messaged me and said, "Great name for the Almost People in Rebel Flesh." I don't know which one she was referring to. Fair enough. Mitch messaged me and said "Rebel Scum," referring to Star Wars, and I actually did get a legit review from
that's nice.
Jacob Hines
More like
saying,
Rebel Cum.
legit. Jacob Hines saying, "These episodes are alright. The ending reveal of Amy wasn't really. Oh, sorry. If the ending there." That I cannot speak. I'm going to say that again. These two episodes are alright. The ending reveal that Amy wasn't really there is a good reveal. 6 out of 10. What would you do with a ganger version of yourself? Now, with all these cum jokes made this episode, I read that today and I was like, okay, hopefully we don't say anything too inappropriate about what we would do. I don't know what I was thinking because I've been playing a lot of Rocket League recently. What if I like verse myself at Rocket League and one of us would have to like win? I don't know. I thought that'd be quite funny. I don't know. I would. You know what? To focus my camera on myself would be pretty cool. Because you know how sometimes you're out of focus.
I was about to say, because I you know, with the whole vlogging stuff, it's so much funner when you have someone, even if like, because a lot of my stuff, like I don't necessarily want to go out and film stuff with people, but I want to go out and have someone help me film, just because it's nice to have someone kind of off camera and, yeah, you know, you have a bit more diversity with your shots. You can have someone holding the camera at times, or you just making sure the focus is right and the sound and all the tech aspects of when you're actually filming it, when you're actually like talking to camera, if you're from a distance or something, it's nice to have someone actually checking that it looks good. Yeah, that would be very helpful.
Very helpful indeed.
I don't know what else I would do. Maybe I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I like time with myself, so I feel like I'd end up hating myself if I saw this person.
Fair enough. I did last week. I think I was just a bit drunk and forgot. Christ, hopefully I didn't mention this last week. That'd be embarrassing if I did. But did I tell you about the poll I put up is the Doctor's Wife overrated? Did I read that? I haven't.
Yes, you did.
Oh, Lord. Well, there you go. Shit. There was me thinking we didn't do it. Sorry, I had a few beers, so I kind of forgot. Sorry about that, everyone.
You mentioned it. I know you definitely mentioned it. I don't know if you went into full detail, but you definitely spoke about it.
Where literally it was like 10% no for it being overrated, and 90% was yes. It's like the most, like, it was probably it was the poll that's had the most accuracy, I guess the word I'm looking for. Like, it had 10 votes for no for overrated. It's the most I've seen that way. And one person voted no, who's James Downing, I think. He's a fan of the show, so interesting that he didn't like it that much, but it's okay. Everyone's opinion matters. And then finally, I want to say, this girl on Twitter called Chloe, she put, what would be your perfect what-if story for Doctor Who? That's the Marvel what-if show that's coming out in a couple of weeks. And I put, what if the Daleks won the Time War? I thought that'd be pretty cool. But then someone replied to me, I'd say they did. I didn't reply to them because I don't agree that they did, but there you go. What do you mean they did? That makes no sense.
That's interesting.
I say they did. I say you're wrong. But I didn't want to get in a massive Twitter feud with someone. I just left it. I was like, I'm not going to reply to that.
I think, and this maybe isn't the right kind of thing, because it's not actually like a plot thing, but there's maybe something to be done that would be kind of cool, where it's like, what if the show was never cancelled? You know, what if we got season 27 with Sylvester McCoy? You know,
why not? Let's do it now. Let's see.
All right, I'll be the Doctor.
He'll be a bit older. Well, yeah, McCoy.
Yeah, I do. Unlimited rice pudding. Was that good?
That's pretty good, actually. You just got to put on a hat.
I play the spoons.
Hey, look. Oh, no, I'm not going to say that. That'll get me in trouble. I was going to make a joke about Ace, which I won't say. You can put one and two together.
We know you stan him. You stan her.
I do stan her.
Sorry.
I do stan her.
All right, Conor. What will you rate? What do you want to rate the orgasm two-parter?
I'm gonna give it 4 out of 10.
Holy smokes!
Which I think is being kind. I contemplated 3.5, but there's some cool things about it, and I gotta give it its credit. I think it definitely was trying to go for something good here. I don't think it was intentionally trying to be as crap as it was, but I honestly, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I honestly think this could have been done in a single part. I don't know why we had to have it as a two-parter.
There's a lot to go through, because the plot is very much like, the plot, could probably be one episode, might end up being a bit packed, but I do think that because of all the way that it impacts Good Man Goes to War, there's a lot, the plot would have to be even thinner for it to be just one episode if it also had to include all the Good Man Goes to War setup, So, unless they extended it a bit or something, I don't know.
Different opinions, different needs.
This season, Conor, there you go, need to come. I feel like this season we're relatively on the same page. Both of us gave Christmas Carol a 9. Both of us gave The Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon an 8. And The Doctor's Wife, we both, and Dan as well, gave it a 9.
Mm-hmm.
And then Curse of the Black Spot is sort of our only real difference, where you gave it a 4, I gave it a 5.5. And once again, I feel a similar thing here, where maybe I just like Moffat's era so much, and the funness and the joy of it, that I struggle to hate the low points of it, and so my low scores aren't as low as yours.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this a 6 because I didn't actually hate it. Oh, 6 is
Fair
that
enough.
too high? I think that's too high. I think
Yeah,
it
it
is.
is.
No, because I think
But
about that
it's
ending.
your
the
choice.
ending's
It's not mine. But yeah, I think it is. But
No,
that's
that
your
ending's-
choice.
That ending's fucked up, mate. That's fucked. I'm giving it a 5.5.
Okay.
5.5.
Okay.
Well,
you definitely did enjoy it more than me.
because I think it's
so.
got. I did enjoy it a lot more than you, I think, but definitely don't stand it. It's definitely a big low point for the Moffat era, I think, but I think there's still a little bit of fun to be had, but a bit of story to be told in it. But the story that's told is the bits I like about it add the Good Man Goes to War bits, like not the actual plot. So
Yeah.
maybe I should give this a bit lower, but it is what it is.
Hey, if you enjoyed it, that's all that matters. I think it is there for entertainment. At the end of the day, I'm so
Might as well
interested
come.
to see the rest of the season and how, from memory again, it's just so up and down. It's one fantastic one and it's just down again. But season 2's got some hard hitters that I'm really interested to rewatch. So yeah.
Part 2, do you mean?
Sorry, part 2. Blah, blah, blah. Goodness me.
Yeah.
Monday night, start of the week.
Just a case of the Mondays.
I am Elizabeth Olsen.
All right, shall we end the show there? Shall we call it?
Let's do it. No worries. I think so grab my reverse and have the stand up again, which is very smart. Well done, Connor. Alright.
Good job, Conor.
Next time you see me, it'll be after my Mullet River trip. So let's hope I'm still in one piece. I might come back as a
Conor
ganger.
might be dead.
Maybe.
Yeah, Conor might come back full of cum.
My lord. Okay.
He might come back. Oh, God. Kill
Oh
me. End the show. Count us in, Conor.
Alright, you ready? One and a
Yeah,
one
good.
and a 2 and a skiddly diddly do. It's Aiden and Connor's podcast. They're doing Doctor Who reviews. The cum episode. It just came and went like that.
Oh, yeah, it did.
Jizz. Jizz.
Jeez.